Good morning. My name is Sabrina Rayford, and I'm going to share about this week's reading with Discriminating Sex. And we were told to read Chapter 5, the Managing Masculinity. And so I just wanted to share via this way how just about the readings and my understanding with it. So first of all, I'd like to share that I think that, just in the readings, it really just captures of just the different masculinity with Japanese and Chinese men, particularly immigrants that were coming in to the U.S. opposed to American white men. And it did share lots of stories of different cases where the white American men felt challenged a lot with their masculinity. It seemed like they were always being compared in different ways, and they were challenged in the sense of even with the control that they had in the U.S. And so I know, as we read, a lot of the immigrants coming into the U.S., and particularly San Francisco and in Hawaii and Honolulu, a lot of them were coming as labor workers, and they were working sugar plantations. If not that, then they were coming in and helping out in different other areas. For instance, some were even coming and working the lowest of jobs that they could find that white men wouldn't work. And so a lot of times the U.S., the white American men felt, like it would challenge their masculinity because they were, in a sense, taking these jobs and doing them and earning an income, even though it was a lot smaller than the average American man, right? There was fear of them taking over the land and them taking over different parts of the U.S. that would bring revenue. And so, Chinese men were not allowed to purchase land, and they were not allowed to purchase a home. There was a lot of things that they could not have, they could not buy, so that would not give them a sense of control in what the U.S. had. And, as we kept reading, we could definitely see just where the Chinese men and women came into the U.S. to really work and embrace the culture and try and fit in and be part of the United States. It was some of the things that I read also that, were a pushback with the Chinese culture was, them being able to embrace their own culture, their language, and their children being able to go to public schools. And so a lot of them had to search to keep that. They had to go into different areas and create their own organizations so that they could still maintain their language, with amongst themselves. They were building different groups to be able to support one another, which to me was amazing to read that they were finding ways to still embrace each other, their culture, and one another, and support each other. There were other people that came alongside that you could read about that were very much for them and could see, the struggle that they had and would, like, for instance, like John Laughlin. I thought it was very interesting, on page 105 that it talked about him writing an 11-page article of why Chinese children should be able to go to the San Francisco schools and they shouldn't be restricted of that. Just because the importance of them being able to have, education, right? We're wanting them to be part of the U.S., but then again, we are excluding them from the benefit of it, right? And then also, Thomas Wilson, he wrote a 5-page article to repel the Unjustifiable Chinese Exclusion Act. So it just was interesting to me how we wanted them to be part and help us, but then again, the things that would make them more Americanized, we were keeping them from, right? And then just, when it came also in our readings, when we read about the relationships, the intermingling of the Chinese men with white women. And then later on, we read about, the Japanese men also, looking and having interest to be part, to being in relationship with the white woman, and then the masculinity with that too of them having to in a sense feel like they were taking the white women from them, and just how the Japanese and the just kind of showed a different they were more feminine, more sensitive, and how that was being shared, that that they were coming from this barbaric sense to now this more being able to embrace the feminine side, which also seemed to be more the masculine side, so embracing that other side of their manhood. And the white men kind of like feeling like, oh, okay, because it was even being shared that the American white men were no longer considered romantical, or being able to capture the romantic part of the relationship. They just felt like they were very controlling over the woman. And so we read about that as well, on the differences in the culture with the men. And reading about how Japanese men wrote poetry and the letters that they would write, and so I just thought it was very interesting to read, how we can learn from the different cultures in that time, and just how the U.S. Responded to that. A very different approach, but then we could also take that and be feel insecure, feel like, oh, are they going to take over? Oh, this is our country, right? So very interesting reading. I really enjoyed it. I can't wait to read some of your of what you received from it. There was just so much. There was so much involved that I feel like I'm not even doing justice right now with what I'm sharing. But just the takeaways of that, where we talked about the managing of the masculinities. I think I touched a little bit on that, but I feel like there's so much more. So I can't wait to read the rest of yours. And please share about your thoughts of my response, and I'd love to read yours. Thank you.